want to go through some of the things you should be watching out for using the examples from last week. So hopefully you can apply that to your own papers or as you go to the gathering to others as well. So first off, do you make the thesis clear at the end of the introduction? So, and I'm going to look at the PDF that I attached just because it's an easy one to see because it's color-coded. So we have, this is about the state of Idaho is passing laws that are destructive to our public schools, teachers. Teaching is the most important profession that exists. How can the government continue? I'm just going to get to the thesis. Teachers are at risk of performance or merit pay, budget cuts, and lack of master agreements, but teachers can still make a difference if they believe in the reasons they became educators. So the stance is teachers can still make a difference if they believe in the reasons they became educators. And then we know that the reasons that they're going to talk about in this paper points are teachers are at risk of performance or merit pay, budget cuts, and lack of master agreements, as well as they might talk about if the reasons that they became educators. So the next point is your essay thesis driven. That means that each part of your paper should correspond to what you're talking about. I have some examples here as well as you can see video here. So make sure that each point corresponds. So we're going to look at this again and see whether it corresponds. And so here we have some ideas where it could be a little bit better, but it says Luna laws want to change teachers into robots, not acknowledge teachers for their degrees and expertise, including years, experience, and wisdom in classroom. Consider one of the proposals from last year's, which is performance or merit pay. So here we have teachers are at risk of performance or merit pay. And so it's not quite clear in the very first paragraph or the very first line of this paragraph. And so this is where I would probably change it just a little bit so that it includes that idea of performance or merit pay, although it is very close. So that's one thing that you want to do, as well as the next couple paragraphs, right? It should have, if it's not, it should either be on this same topic right here, just changing it a little bit, or it should go on to this next point right here. So those are the ideas right there. Just a second. So that's the second one. Our paragraphs developed. Can you make a mill out of them? So this acronym is M, main idea or topic sentence. It should correspond to points and thesis or relate. Evidence. This could be logic, sources, your own or others' experiences, a whole myriad of things. Analysis. This explains how the evidence proves the points or relates to the thesis. Link connects to the point of the paragraph or thesis and transitions to the next paragraph. So for example, we know from here, we looked at this one, that this is the topic sentence, their main idea, and that the main idea is more in the second sentence. So this is where you probably would want to change it a little bit. Then let's see if we have evidence. So it says, teachers will be held accountable for their students' test scores, which could be possible, but not in the way that Luna sees it. If a student struggles in class because of home life, low IQ, lack of motivation, lack of understanding of the material, or because he or she has a learning disability, according to our state legislature, none of that matters. Teachers still have to find a way to bring up that student's score despite his or her personal challenges. One might argue that raising scores is a teacher's responsibility, and for the greater good of existence than reaching out to every student is a moral responsibility of the part of the educator. Should an educator punish for an inability to reach each student? So here we can see that they're actually not necessarily answering or giving evidence yet that it does support, but looking at an opposing viewpoint. So that's an important part. And then here they go into the support. These laws are asking too much of classroom teachers. If students don't succeed on statewide exams or even in class, the community at the local and state level expect more from the students. These laws ask the teachers to assume most, if not all, of the accountability for negative outcomes in the classroom. Using the word unfair in this scenario would be inappropriate but not necessarily accurate. Fairness is a word that has probably never fit the field of education, and for the most part, many teachers across the nation accept the adversarial conditions they face. Fighting poverty-stricken communities that can't afford school supplies, low wages, long hours, and hefty administrative tasks is hard. Expecting teachers to create miracles for performance or merit pay is absurd. Pay should be based on teachers' credibility and worthwhile efforts in the in the profession. So here we can see, right, so this first one they brought in the opposing viewpoint, and then the second one, they used logic from our experience as the evidence supporting that. Right, the next part of this is analysis, right? So we know sometimes we put in sources and then we don't analyze them. We just leave them by themselves. We need to ask the so what. Or here we might say, fighting poverty-stricken communities that can't afford school supplies, low wages, long hours, and hefty administrative task is hard. Right, so this is all evidence. If we didn't put this next part, right, we wouldn't know how this evidence fits in with the point we're trying to make, which is the so what question. Expecting teachers to create miracles for performance or merit pay is absurd. Pay should be based on teachers' credibility and worthwhile efforts in the profession. So these do show kind of the analysis or how it fits in with the thesis. And the next one is the link. So you want to link back to the point and also set up for the next paragraph. So here it says, yet the profession seems to be losing merit as being a worthwhile career. So here it's going to hint at the next idea of how this is losing in the battle here. So as you can see, that's what we mean by developing. And as you can see, it doesn't always have to be in one paragraph, although they usually will be in one paragraph. If it's short, you may have to spread it into two. Next one I asked you about is opposing viewpoints, which we kind of talked about. And then the other ones are a little bit easier, so I'm just going to talk about that. Avoid using the words I believe or in my opinion. So you can, of course, talk about your own experience and use I, but if you use words like I believe this or in conclusion, in my opinion, they just make your ideas seem less sure, and we want them to seem sure. The next one is remember to be a little more formal, as opposed to the personal essay that we're going to do or some of the earlier essays. You want to be a little bit more formal, and that because you might lose credibility if you're informal and use contractions or start sentences with coordinating conjunctions like or, and, but, or yet so. Another one that I didn't put here, but also can be, is not using commas on the very last item of a series. So you have walking, running, and jumping, right? If you don't have a comma before or that jumping part, sometimes that can also come off as informal. So those are things that you want to consider, just because depending on your audience, you may lose credibility. Did you remember to format your essay in MLA? So this one that's PDF is not in MLA. I'm going to show you an example on Word because it's a little bit easier. So this example shows you what MLA looks like, as well as the regular formatting things that kind of transcend all formatting. So first off, it's double spaced, as you can see. Let me just show you real fast. Just want you to be able to see the top here. As you can see that the font is Times New Roman 12 point. Also, the margins are 1 inch. The paragraphs are indented 1/2 inch. And everything is double spaced. So some other things you can do is to also set your default. You click on this little box if you have Word, Times New Roman 12 point, set as default, and it will ask you this document only or all documents. I like to do all. Paragraphs, this is going to ask about spacing. So besides double spacing, you want to make sure that the spacing before and after is set to 0 as well. And then also here in page layout, just one thing that you want to make sure that you do is margins, and it should be 1 inch all around. Then I would like you to get used to doing the header and heading, just because each different style is going to have you do something similar, so it's easier if you have some experience in doing that. So there's a couple ways that you can insert this. You go to Insert. You can go and insert the page number first. I like to do that one, and then you can pick top of page, plain number 3, and put in your last name. And if you don't set your default font, this might come up as a different font as well. So make sure that you do that, add a space, or you can go and add the last name first, but when you go to page number, you need to use the current position. Also, you see here in this heading right here that you have your first and your last name, the name of the teacher, the name of the course, and you can also have this section as well. And then you go from the smallest to the biggest. So day, month, year, no commas, nothing. And you'll notice that there are no extra spaces in between, right? Also, when you cite sources, you may want to include either an MLA works cited, or you can just include, I got it from this person, which was from this site on this day, those kinds of things. The writing a paper MLA shows a good example of that. Let me just pull it. So as you can see here, you can either do it by, according to Miyazaki, an English 990 instructor, you want to also include, if you're not including a works cited, where it's from, the website, what day, and a page number. And because I am using MLA, then I'd have a works cited that has all the information here at the end. And so here's an example where it's first, last name, the name of the paper, name of the journal, volume issue number, year, page number, the databases and web, and the date that you access. So that's an example of how you would do either a works cited, or you can just give more information. That works as well. Okay, the other thing that I did say here is, did you consider your audience? So for a lot of you, you're doing topics that are perfectly fine for just an LDS audience, and if you do, you can use LDS language terms and support, like things from prophets, scriptures, those kind of things. If you're trying to appeal to a wider or a different audience, you probably don't want to use those, or you want to make different decisions. You may want to include more logic. So make sure that you have a clear audience in mind and you're picking things that are appropriate for that. So hopefully this is helpful. I'm sorry it's a little long, but these are all things that will help you as you put together your paper. And the one other thing I want to show you, the content revision checklist goes over everything that you probably need in your paper, from biggest to small. The paper, organization, from big to small, sentences level, as well as general. So this is also a good source that if you want a little bit of a checklist to see if you have everything you need, go ahead and pull up this attachment.